Come correct or don't come at all.
This is the Hartzog Hustle Podcast.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
And we're talking about the hustle, strategy, and mindset you need to win in the areas of your finance, your purpose, and your future.
Know what I'm saying?
If you have heart and you want to learn how to activate the power of your hustle, then this is the podcast for you, baby. For you, baby.
Congratulations.
And now, your hosts, Anthony and Jhanilka Hartzog.
This is how it should be done.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Hartzog Hustle Podcast. Our goal is to help 9-to-5ers create more income, impact, and influence outside their jobs. We're your hosts, Anthony and Jhanilka Hartzog. What's going on?
Thank you for joining us for another episode. We are onward to hit that year mark. We celebrated 50 episodes, but we're going for that year mark at 52.
Yep.
So thank you for joining us. Today, our episode is about how to find the right side hustle. Maybe you don't know anything about our stories, but at one point we were the side hustle king and queen. So I think we have some information that we can share on that. But before we jump in, I do want to read the review of the week. And this is from Spadok. You know, people put nicknames. Love the Hartzogs. They talk about things in a fun and engaging way. I usually don't listen to many podcasts, but I typically finish 1 to 2 episodes in one sitting in this case. Definitely recommend a follow. So thank you very much, Spadok, for taking the time and writing us a review. We really appreciate it. And this is a way for us to say thank you by reading it out loud. And you can do the same by leaving us a review on whatever platform you listen to this podcast on. If it's YouTube that you're watching, make sure you're subscribing, sharing, commenting, and letting people know what we're doing over here.
Yes. So we built the $1 million side hustle. And before we get to that story, I do want to talk about an experience that we had while we were in Atlanta, because we didn't really talk about it.
Okay, what was the experience? I'm not sure.
So we were invited into a room based on, we were on a podcast, so it's a Social Proof podcast, and they have this alumni affair. It's a great podcast, and they have this alumni affair, meaning everyone who's ever been on a podcast, they get invited. It's kind of like the entrepreneurship, the Diddy event of entrepreneurship. What's the name of the Diddy event?
The
Rock Nation Brunch of
Nation.
Entrepreneurship.
That's not Diddy, though.
Rock Nation's Jay-Z, you're right.
Yeah.
So Rock Nation Brunch of Entrepreneurship. And this was an amazing event. We were there. It was in Atlanta.
Everything's in Atlanta.
It was an all brown event. It was an all brown event. And I kind of recognize, it's kind of like meeting some of the people you see online who are doing like amazing things in entrepreneurship space, African Americans that are doing amazing things. But it was different sitting in that room and getting to meet them, getting to see their personalities up close and personal. And the amount of wealth that was in that room was just absolutely astonishing. Black wealth, essentially.
Yeah, no, it was a different vibe. Like you said, it's like seeing people on paper and then seeing them in real life. So Instagram, you don't know them, but it's like we speak. And it's funny when I describe things to my mother. I'm like, yeah, we know them from Instagram. Like, we speak all the time. We may be in each other's DMs. You may be laughing, but you've never met them. But I think that's the kind of day and age we're in. So meeting them just feels like, finally, nice to meet you in person. Even though I kind of see you here and there. So, yeah, it was fun. It was a good feeling, though.
The good thing about it was that Jhanilka asked me, was there anybody that you met that wasn't...
Oh, yeah, what you thought?
That didn't attach to their personality online. And I said, no, everyone that we met there, they were the same way that you would think in person. Because these aren't people that are just posting here and there. These are people that are sharing most of their entire lives online as they're growing businesses. You know, some people are just starting in businesses. Some people have been in business entrepreneurship for decades. So they're showing you the insights of their businesses, insights of their personal lives. So there wasn't anyone that I met there that I was like, oh, you're completely different in person.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think one of the most mind-blowing parts of it was they did it like a donation. And they raised like $650,000 in like 10 minutes.
If that. If that. The real dropper was, a few people say, I'll match your 1,000, I'll match your 10,000. I mean, that's all significant amount of money. And someone said, I'll do 250,000.
What?
Yeah, exactly. I'll put up 250,000. I'm like, wait a minute. What room am I really in? And who is that person that's dropping 250,000? Not without any discussion, but he had an idea that they were going to do donations, but he didn't have to do 250,000 now. Like that blew me away. And Tony on the side is like, oh, I should donate a little something. I'm like, we need to talk. And it was a man that did it. And I'm like, did he have a conversation with his wife or his partner? I don't even know if he's married, but it was like, wow, okay, we are really in the rooms if someone can just drop 250,000, child.
that was
a game changer for me.
And I think being in that room and being in that environment, we talked about being in the room a few times. Being in that environment was just, I want to say life changing in a way, because I've never seen anyone say, I'm gonna donate or do anything with $250,000, let alone $100,000.
True.
I'm giving away $250,000 to your cause without a question, without a, hey, I need more information, without a, oh, I got to think about this. It was like, I'm going to do this right now, or here you go. It's donated, and enjoy. It was for kids as well. Going to teach entrepreneurship in schools and prisons and things like that, but it's mainly for kids, I believe.
Yeah. But I'm just thinking you're going to have the hayseer say, well, that person probably can write it off, blah, 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 but you're still not donating $250,000. You don't have to do that regardless, right? I mean, even if you have it, most people aren't doing that. Let's be very clear. So either way, like you said, I've never been around anyone donating, let alone $50,000. I don't even know if I've been around anybody donating $10,000. So
well, you've been around from $10,000 up to $250,000 in the same room.
In the same room. So that definitely was an experience, and it was kind of like, wow. Now that's real. That's the wealth that you don't even have to second guess. $250,000.
Yeah, but our goal is to help you get there. Our goal is to help us get there. So
and then we can tell you how to get there.
That's the purpose of the podcast. Our goal is to help you think about ways to get in these different rooms, get in these different environments, and just kind of ways to create more income. Mm-hmm. So going back to the topic at hand, we're going to be talking about how to find the right side hustle for you. Because we've technically built $1 million side hustle.
We did build $1 million side hustle, but some background, if you're new here, maybe you are, we paid off $114,000 of debt in 23 months. And the way that we did that was by side hustling. So we had multiple jobs on top of our 9-to-5. So this is why this kind of side hustle thing makes sense. When we started sharing our story in social media world, it was specifically us talking about, what's happening with you?
No, I'm just checking my email.
Okay. It was specifically about us talking about side hustling and paying off debt. That's really what everybody knew us for. So yes, how to find the right side hustle, deciding if you're even going to do a side hustle. That's kind of what we want to touch on today.
So let's talk about the connotations around side hustle too, because I think we're definitely in a side hustle culture where people have their jobs, and especially over the last 2-3, maybe like the last 5 years or so.
Okay.
I'll say mainly during the COVID, during the pandemic, people have been thinking about ways to raise their income outside their job. So we consider a side hustle anything that you're doing outside of your 9-to-5 to help you create more income.
Yeah. Is that the actual definition, though?
I have no idea. I don't think we need to pull up the actual definition.
Okay, all right.
I think my definition was pretty on point.
Okay.
So anything that you're doing outside of your 9-to-5 with the goal to create more income. So that would be like what we're talking about. So you have to find out, why do you want to start a side hustle? Like, what is your goal of doing whatever you're going to be doing?
Mm-hmm. And that was important for us because, as you know, generally a side hustle means that you're doing more work. Usually. It's like, well, why am I doing this? What's the reason I'm doing it? For us, it was to pay off debt. What is that for you? Is it just for extra income? Is it for the holiday season? Is it because you have a cruise coming up next year? What's your reason? And any reason is fine. It just has to be specific to you, and you should know the reason why. Because the times that you're doing that side hustle and you don't feel like it, you're going to need to remember your why. So find out why you want this side hustle. Like, what is the end goal of it? Things like that.
I think that's a very important part too, because I think when you put let's say it's a number. Our number goal was to pay off $114,000 of debt. Or if your number goal is to find a down payment for a house, or your number goal is to pay to get extra to pay up your car, or your number goal is to, I don't know, whatever it may be, put up down payment on a car. Like, having that number goal makes it more attainable, so you're not just doing this thing just to be doing it.
Yeah.
So like you said, when times get tough, you know exactly what the end goal is, so that you know, all right, once I get to this goal, I won't have to do this anymore. If you decide to do it, that's up to you. But once you get to this goal, you understand, all right, I have the option to choose not to do this anymore.
Yeah.
So finding out why you want to start the side hustle and that timeline to complete to get to that goal.
The timeline, I think, is important because, you know, you can say I want to put a deposit of $10,000. Are you doing that for 7 years, or are you doing that for 2 years? That may determine the type of side hustle that you do, or how much you work in the side hustle and things like that, because the amount of money you're bringing in is different. So the timeline, I think, is essential. When we originally started, we didn't have a timeline until we were about 3 months in, and then we decided, okay, we need to put a timeline. So we need to put an end to this as to when we want to accomplish this. That made things a bit easier, I think.
So once we were a couple months in, we said, all right, we figured we could pay off our debt in 2 years. So we knew that we're going to be working as hard as we can to get to this goal as fast as we could. Because if you don't, it's like, all right, I'm gonna pay off this debt. You're gonna start to call out. You're gonna start to not put the effort in. You're gonna start to be like, you know what, this ain't for me. You're gonna find reasons not to do it. And that end goal is going to get further and further and further away, because we could have put that 114,000. It could have been 5 years. It could have been 7 years. So having that 2-year deadline allowed us to say, this is the end goal, and we're going to get there as fast as we can, as hard as we can.
Right. Or is this something that you plan to do for a while? I mean,
very important
it
too.
may become, well, and sometimes we start off calling something a side hustle because we're scared to call it a business because we don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes we may try to downplay it to that, and that's something different. So you would have to know that for yourself. I may be thinking this is just your side hustle. In your mind, you're like, no, this is my bread and butter. This is why I want to be my business. So I think definitely knowing, am I going to do this for a while, or is just something temporary, like the timeline? Then that helps you to kind of reverse engineer to know what you need to do, how quickly, how frequently, all those type of things.
So we have the goal, and we have the timeline as to how long it's going to take us to get there. So with our cleaning business, there was no end goal with that. There wasn't
no
a
end goal.
That was part of the larger goal to pay off the debt.
No end goal.
That was a part of the larger goal to pay off the debt, but there was no, we're only going to start this cleaning business and kind of sell it or get rid of it or whatever is going to happen within 2 years once we pay off this debt. It's like, we're going to start this thing and just grow it.
Yeah.
So maybe having an end goal in that cleaning business would be important.
Right.
Is there
now,
an end goal?
still? There's still no end goal right now, but I don't know that you see. That's the thing. It's a business that started as a side hustle. It's just all confusing for us.
It's always going to be confusing.
Not always. No.
If you set the intentions up front, it won't be confusing.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. For those people that may be scared to just call it a business, just call your business a business. Like try to. For us, it wasn't that we were downplaying it. We just really had no idea. I don't know.
That's true.
Where we are now versus where we were 6 years ago, 5 years ago.
I got another point for you too.
A little different.
So as we're talking through this conversation, so now we got the why do you want to start it, find out the timeline, and then we said, all right, let's distinguish. I got one that's not listed. Let's distinguish the difference between starting a side hustle, starting a business. Because I think we knew
it's real slippery.
We knew the cleaning business was a business, but we treated it as a side hustle. So we're gonna talk about.
But we called it a business though, but we treated it as a side hustle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it would be safe to distinguish what you're doing when you're going through this journey too. So when you're starting something, like let's say, like one of our examples was we walk dogs, right? We watch dogs in our house. We knew damn well that wasn't going to be a business.
No.
We had no intentions of growing that.
No. None at all.
But we also rented out our car, and we had the intentions of using that to grow a business.
We did. We had the intention of buying more cars. Yeah, you're right.
So I think making that distinction up front will allow you to know which route you're going to take. Because we took the car rental more seriously than we took the dog walking or dog watching, because we knew the potential around renting out the cars.
I think also, now that we're talking through it, sometimes it may be a little difficult to know from the beginning until you start trying something. You say, okay, I actually do like this, and it may turn into more. So it may not always be that you can do it up front, but if you know, or if you have an intention, if you know, that's the difference, right?
Yeah.
So we may have started watching dogs and say, well, we love this. This is going to be our new business. We're walking.
Could have turned into a business.
Could have turned into something more, but it didn't. But if you know from the beginning, I think that's what you're saying. Like, don't just downplay it, or don't just not put all into it because you're like, I'm not sure. Yeah. We didn't know anything from the beginning of any of our side hustles.
Exactly.
Of what we were going to do, what the intention was. It was just kind of like, we need to pay off our debt. Whatever happens, happens.
So how much time do you have to actually run that business helps you know what type of business or what type of side hustle you're going to pick. Yeah. So that helps you. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, for example, I was getting off of work at 4:00 working from home. So then to me, that meant I have 6 hours, if you will, to do something, work, whatever I want to do, whatever it is. I had 6 hours to do something. You may work 12 to 8 p.m. I want to go to bed by 10. I really don't have time. But in the morning, do I have 3 hours, like 9 to 12 before I go to work? So yeah, definitely knowing what time you have. Or can I only work on weekends? Because the schedule that I have kids, I have other things going on. I don't have time to do all those things. But when we started, we had a little bit more flexibility.
Yeah, and I was in the same boat because I was getting out of work at 4 o'clock, and I was home by like 4:15.
Yeah.
So we don't go to bed till 11 o'clock. I had 6-7 hours of to do something. So figuring out how much time you actually have to either start the business or start the side hustle before or after work is gonna be very important in helping you choose
Which one you go with?
what you're gonna do. So we knew that when we were watching dogs, we knew that all right, they were coming to our house, so it was semi-passive, but we had to watch them.
And walk them.
But we were already walking our dog.
Yes, but some had to go more frequently.
Some had to go more frequently.
Yeah, but
so, and deciding how active do you want to be in that business, too.
Yes, passive or, with you figuring out how much time you have helps you determine, can it be a passive side hustle or an active side hustle? Definitely a big determination.
So passive means that you do it once and it kind of could help, it could kind of pay you for a while. So like renting out our cars was more of a passive side hustle. We rented out. We didn't have to do any more work outside of renting it out. We had to come back, wash it and stuff like that. But it didn't take our daily interaction with it for it to make money. But when we were watching dogs and them coming to our house, it was active because we had to watch them, we had to walk them. Even though we were doing this with our dog already, we had to feed them.
Make sure they're safe.
Make sure they're safe. So it was more of an active day-to-day side hustle. And you work from home too, so that kind of gave us more leniency.
And also when we were working in the gym, we were going to a gym and working, that clearly was active because my time was committed to, couldn't do anything else. There was nothing else happening besides me being at that front desk, doing what I have to do, scanning for the gym. So determining the time you have definitely determines how passive or active it can be. And I think that that's crucial when you're thinking of a side hustle.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about the gym. So we both worked at the gym after our job. So we get home at 4. I get home at 4 o'clock. I'm working at the gym from 5 to 10 o'clock every single night for a couple months. And you were working there as well.
I was working there as well.
But we both enjoyed working out. So we did get a free membership as well, and we got unlimited access to the gym.
Yeah.
So yes, it was active in terms of our time, but we did get a kickback from it as well.
Yes.
Something we enjoyed doing, something that didn't take much effort from us. We were just showing up. And we got to network with people.
Yeah, it was a good time. Definitely.
Would you do it again?
Not at. Actually, I considered it at the time. I actually brought it to you and said it. You say no.
Not for that money.
The money may be different now. We're in a different age. Who knows?
It ain't gonna be what we need it to be.
No, but because I was considering it because I went back to the gym and now I pay a membership. So I was like, if I just work 3 shifts.
3 shifts is a long time.
Then maybe for
That's
4
a lot
or
of
5 hours.
That's a lot of hours.
It could be 15 hours. I'm bringing in money and I'm saving on the end because I'm not paying a membership, but then I'm away from the family.
No, let's do that.
So then I'm not really saving. That's
you
the thing.
You are working 15 hours. How much is the membership? 190?
I don't really remember.
Let's say 200 divided by 15.
It's not 200, but let's go with 200 to.
You are working 200 divided by 15. You're making $13 an hour.
Oh, that was 15 hours. That was 15 hours a week at that. So it would be less.
Yeah, we're not doing it. So that's another thing. So determining
at the time it worked though.
At the time it did work for us. We were new to Dallas. We didn't have any other options. We wasn't thinking about creating a bunch of businesses. So we said we were going to use our time to create more income. When you talk about active versus passive income, we're going to be more active to create more income for our family to pay off this debt. So that's a very important part. Deciding how active or passive you want it to be and determining how much time you have in that business or side hustle.
Right. And then the other thing is just with side hustling that we would add to it is that your first side hustle doesn't mean that it's your last side hustle, right? You don't have to be married to this thing. Try it out for a week, it ain't work, you can move on, right? So you don't have to be so committed. I think sometimes, and I think this is in general, we get in our heads, I'm doing so much research to figure out a way to make more money. It's like, just do the one thing that you see and go from there. So it doesn't have to be your last side hustle. Try it out. See, maybe you keep adding on. Like we were adding on. We were watching dogs. We were renting out our car. We were working out at the gym. We were doing surveys here and there. So it was like multiple things added on. We didn't have to be committed to one thing. And I think that's the beauty of a side hustle.
Yeah. Surveys one was a very passive one. We were doing so if you guys don't know, there's platforms that you could sign up for to do surveys, and pretty much you fill out an application, they call you to do a survey. Surveys could be online, they could be in person, they could be over the phone, and essentially they're just asking you questions and you get paid for it. One of my favorite surveys I did was I tried one of my favorite cakes,
nothing but
cake, and they paid me like $200 to try out my favorite cake, and I was like, well, this is the best money ever.
This is the best. You probably still have those gift cards. You don't know where they at.
Yeah. I'm gonna plug one of my contacts. If you guys are interested in doing surveys, I'm gonna plug one of my contacts in the
show notes.
In the show notes.
Yeah.
He needs to be paying for sponsorship too.
Period. Anybody with speaking of needs.
Speaking of, you guys interested in sponsoring some of the podcasts, reach out to us on Instagram or in the comments somewhere. You could get your whatever you do, whether your business, your service up and running, or help you kind of blast it out to more people. Reach out to us.
Yes. So this is, the first part of this, we spoke about how to determine if you want to do a side hustle, things to consider or think about. And now we want to speak about how to find the right side hustle for you, right? Because you Google, there's 100,000 side hustles out there, but how do you know that this one works for me? So taking into consideration all of the things that we just mentioned, now moving forward to finding the side hustle, like actually doing the action of it. Where would you start?
So one thing I always tell people is what are you good at? Is there something that you are, or not even good at? What are you decent at?
That's fair.
What do people ask you about? So what's something that people ask you about? So like, even if you're not, let's say you're not a trainer, you just work out a lot. Like I wasn't a trainer, but I worked out a lot and I posted my workouts online. People always ask me about my workouts.
Yep.
So I'm not a physical trainer. I don't got the best body. They just see me posting. I'm consistent and they want to get to where I am.
That's the key right there with everything, right?
Yeah.
Get people to where you are, because I think we always think that I can't help them because I don't know the whole alphabet. I don't know A to Z. But you know A to M, and somebody wants to get to M. They're still at A.
You may know A to B.
You may know A to B. And no, seriously, you may know A to D. But so get people to where you are makes a difference when you're thinking about what do people ask me about, and you don't need to know it all because no one knows it all.
So, yeah. So what are you good at? What do people ask you about? What do you feel like you know a little bit more than someone else? I knew fitness was my thing. I knew a bunch of workouts. I knew a bunch of cardios. I knew all the weights in the gym. I knew how to manage my eating properly or decently. Like I said, my goal wasn't to get to people to do a bodybuilding competition because I've never done one. But I knew that I could help you kind of figure out how to use the equipment, how to change your eating habits. So I started doing like little fake meal plans. I started training some people at my job for a little bit.
I was about to say, I remember that.
Because all they want to do was just work out with me. Some people just want that accountability.
Yeah.
So we would wake up, I'm like, all right, cool. If you pay me a couple, $20, $30, I'll go to the gym with you and we'll just work out together. It wasn't
just to even know the machines. Like
exactly.
First, you have no idea. I remember.
And I was in there killing them. And I'm like, yo, I'm not going to sit here and make workout plans for you. But you want to work out with me and have this accountability, let's do it.
Yeah.
So they paid me and we did that. So finding out what you're good at. So what would you say you're good at?
That's the thing. I never know.
We just had this conversation.
What do we come up with? What do we come up with that I'm good at?
Remember you having a conversation with, you were consulting someone? 2 people, actually.
Oh, yeah. What was I doing?
They were asking about business.
Oh, I was consulting about business. Yeah. So that's what I'm good at?
That could be, I'm just saying, as an example, what are people asking you about?
I don't know that people are asking me about anything particular. When most people speak to me, it's us as a couple. So it's never that I'm a standalone, but the few times I was as a standalone, and it was about business, just doing a course or standing out or growing and all this thing, changing their mindset. So that's kind of what it was. And I was speaking volumes into them that way. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I was coaching.
Exactly. So what are people asking you about? So we want you guys to take this actionable advice. So you need to find out what you're good at. So even, let's say you don't know what you're good at. I did an experiment. I asked my friends, like, what am I good at?
Yeah, that's something they say. So something that's tangible is like making a list of your skills, your hobbies, things that you're interested in. Like just make a list. It could be going to the bar. Like just make a damn list. Make the list. And then you'll start to kind of eliminate things, obviously, that you're like, I don't want to do this as a side hustle. I don't want to do that. But an add on to that is asking other people, friends, family, like you said, what do they think about for you, or what do they think that you're good at, or what are some things that they feel
what comes to mind
when they think of you, something like that. You can ask friends and family as well. But I like the idea of writing, because writing just changed, I don't know, for me, old school, just writing it down kind of helps, and then just crossing out. And I say things like going to the bar, just write it down, because maybe you want to be a bartender, who knows?
I got one for that one too. So let's say
there's money everywhere.
I got business ideas all out my butt. So one of my friends is really good at beers. He knows everything about beers, and I was like, "There's a lot of information." And I told him what I liked, and he was like,
"Your looks nice." I'm just noticing.
Oh, thank you. You know, the waves is spinning.
The waves, yeah.
So one of my friends, he was really good at beer, and I asked him about what I like about beers, and he's like, "Oh, here's a list of beers you could try."
Boom,
done.
That's a service. Boom,
it's a service.
Because I don't know, Bears. I'm just drinking what I can. Corona, apple cider, the basics.
Exactly. So let's say you like apple
Angry
cider.
Orchard. Sorry,
and they don't have
Orchard.
Angry Orchard. Oh, here's some other beers you could try when you go to the bar. I can send you a list. Like that's a basic service. Like you pay $5. You may not say, oh, that's not a business, but
Oh, it's a business.
everything could be a business.
Everything.
If there is a problem to be solved, that's another thing too. Like what problems can you solve for people? Let's say you write down that list. Let's say you like, right? Say something. We're gonna give you like a tangible example.
So you like what?
Just say something. Right?
Sneakers.
So sneakers, right? So what you got a list of things that you like. What problems are found in that business, or what problems do people have in that business? So we got a list of things that you like to do, or things you enjoy. What problems are seen in that business, or whatever it is you like?
No, what I was going to say about the side hustles is that there's twofold to it. There's some side hustles that you just do as a no-brainer. I'm just doing this to make money, so you really don't care.
Yeah.
And then there's some side hustles that I think you're going deeper because that's just how your mind goes of like, how can I consistently make money off of this? You're like, this ain't a one-off. But side hustles can be a one-off is what we're saying as well. So it can be a one-off. But you bring to the point of we don't recommend doing a side hustle that you hate. It doesn't make sense, and it doesn't make sense because if you're still working a 9 to 5, not many people love their 9 to 5. You're going to add on something else that you hate to working. So now I'm working 8 hours. Now I'm working 15 hours. It's something that I hate.
Absolutely
That don't
not.
make sense. Okay. Now you don't have to love it, but I don't think it's something that you should hate. Right. So we weren't going to be working in Target because that would not be something that was conducive to us. Us working at the gym was fine. It was friendly. It was a fun environment. We got free membership. We like to work out. Boom. The dog watching. We have a dog. Our dog was able to socialize. Cars, they were just going. There's nothing really to do there. So all the things that we did align with things that we were at least were semi-interested in.
Yeah.
So I think that that's a huge point, and that's why we say to start with the skill of writing down things that you like, hobbies, things like that, but highly don't recommend doing something that you despise just because. Like, oh, I hate driving Uber, I don't want to talk to anybody. That's not the side hustle to do, personally. Now, if you're just like, I'm grinding, so I don't care, okay, but
If you hate
I don't
driving,
think you're going to... Yeah, I just wouldn't suggest it.
I do not enjoy it. Now, if I had a Tesla and I enjoy,
Right, maybe have a different feeling.
yeah. So
Yeah.
writing on the list of things that you enjoy, and is there any problems in that? So we just want the sneaker example. So I enjoy sneakers. What problems do people have? Finding sneakers, knowing what size they want.
Buying the sneakers, all the bots are buying it.
Exactly. Being able to
When
buy
is
the
it
sneakers.
dropping?
When is it dropping? Dates. What sneakers fit my personality? What sneakers go in my outfit? So you got a list of
What
things
size
you enjoy.
do they run? How do they
you
run?
You got the problems that people have, and now the question is, how can you solve that problem? Now is a service or a solution that people are can pay you for that. So that's those are just three categories that you could use to help you figure out if this could even turn from a side hustle to a long-term business as well. So that's very important.
So that was the first thing, making a list of skills and interests and hobbies and, bullet points of what you're good at, what you hate, what you love to do, asking friends and family. Other thing we have is, we kind of touched on this, but narrowing it down to figure out, can you see yourself spending time doing this?
Yeah.
Which is important. Even if it's just 2 hours a week or 5 hours a week or whatever that looks like, can you do it? Touching on the fact of if I don't like it, you probably don't want to do it. And I once again wouldn't suggest taking on a side hustle that's going to cause like stress to you. But I know sometimes we're in different seasons that it doesn't matter what I take on. I just need something for extra money. That's different. But if it's something that I may do long term, something that I'm going to be working for a year plus or something like that, or figuring out for a year plus, it is just highly suggested. It's something that you wouldn't not enjoy, but don't despise.
And that goes back to that timeline too. So you said the season. So if we're in the season of grind, maybe that timeline is shorter. Maybe the timeline doesn't matter right now. So you're like, all right, I'm gonna do this for a couple months. I gotta pay off this bill and I'm out. So that's okay if you're gonna do something for a couple months. But if you're doing, like you said, doing something for a couple years that you don't like or despise, that's probably not conducive to your health.
No.
We don't want you out here stressed, people. We want y'all to have a enjoying,
Life.
relaxing life with a few side hustles here and there.
Right. So we touched on what do people think about you, but what do people ask you about the most? And if you think about that, can you make that a side hustle? Right? Is it haircuts? Is it working out at the gym? Is it styling the clothes that you wear? Is it your nails? Is it, I don't know, what you talk about? What do people ask you about the most, and can that become a side hustle? I mean, I don't have the answer for you. You just have to ask yourself that question. But that's another way that you can find a side hustle. Like, Something I'm always answering, maybe in my DMs, maybe when I post, maybe just family and friends are constantly asking me. Booking flights, travel itineraries, anything.
Do you know how most people become like chefs or cooks or stuff like that?
Because their family asks them to cook? I think
Because they always cooking.
They always cooking, yeah.
You know why? Because they cook and they become good at it. They don't ever just wake up one day and say, oh, I'm good at cooking. They've been doing this for some time. It's like, oh, I was in the kitchen just making breakfast here and there.
And I just added a little
something. And then every event, people start, family and friends just start asking me to cook. And then I go online, I get recipes. I enjoy doing that. And then now, family and friends like, oh, can you come to my house? Can you make this meal? Can you make this meal? So there was something that they enjoyed doing, and they just added a little step here and there, and people started asking them about it.
Yeah.
So that's just something to think about. Another thing is, like, can you pick up extra hours at your job? I was telling one of my employees this a couple years ago. He had a goal in mind, and he was like, I'm going to pick up another job. And I was like, I get it, but you make pretty good money here. Why not just work overtime where you'll be making more money doing those hours here?
And you know what to do. Ain't nothing to learn.
It is not nothing to learn. You don't have to leave your house. Why not just take those extra hours that you're going to put there, just put it in here, because you know we need it, and we're not going to turn you down, and you will get to your goal faster.
What did he say?
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, not every job allows for OT, but if it does, and even if it's not OT, some jobs allow you to work another role at the company. Like my company is so big that I could technically work another role. That they have different hours, they have other things happening, even if it's part-time or something like that. So if it's not OT, maybe there's another way around that.
Can you? That's a really good point. So make that tangible. Can you ask your job if there's any other roles that you could take?
Yeah.
Like literally just go and say, hey, I'm looking to make extra money. Yeah. And that's another thing. When you tell your job your goals, sometimes they'll be in alignment with you. Especially you have like, listen, I'm trying to buy this house. I'm just looking to make extra money. That could even lead to a conversation of,
where's my raise?
Where's my raise? Where's my bonus? Because that's a very, very, very good point that you just made. So when I brought the conversation up about paying off debt and I got goals, it automatically brought up conversations about raises and compensation.
Yeah, because I ain't making enough money here.
And I didn't have to even I didn't have to put my finger on the dial to do that. They automatically start thinking that, oh, wow, Aunt may try to get another job, or Aunt may leave, or we're not paying Aunt enough. You may be paying me what you feel like is enough, but I could always make more income outside of my job. I could always make more income. That's one thing that's unlimited, your earning potential outside of your job. So when I told them that, it was like, oh, wow, okay, he has these goals. He's trying to get to these goals. And sometimes they may say, how can I help you get to your goals faster? They may just pull up other roles for you or something like that.
Yeah, no, it's true.
So asking your job about overtime, but then also being very intentional about asking about different ways that you can make more money in the whatever field you're in the career job that you're in.
The next one is kind of, I think about social media when I think about this, and it's like, can you sell it? Can you test it out? And what we mean by that is, I think when we started out with selling courses, we kind of tested it out by just going on IG Live or just asking people, would you be interested in something like this? So just testing it out in that way is kind of what we mean. Just putting it out there and see what happens. Whatever it is that you're working on, maybe it's a digital product, maybe it's something along those lines, a t-shirt brand, maybe it's now that you're cutting nails, putting it out there and seeing what happens would kind of make a difference when it comes to figuring out the side hustle, testing the market, testing to see if distracting me, testing the market, testing to see if it's something that people want. Because sometimes we're like, oh, this is it. I know this is it. This hit is it. Whatever it is, and it ain't it. So testing it out would be helpful as well. If it's a side hustle, if it's a business, so that's something else to consider when you're thinking about what side hustle to do.
Didn't mean to distract you there.
He had the camera up for those that may not be watching. They're probably like, what is he doing?
So speaking of, if you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel, you can get all the visuals of the podcast. We post every single podcast video there. So if you want to watch that. And yes, the digital product game, especially right now, everyone wants to learn something. So again, it goes back to what do you know that people ask you for? And just taking that information that you have, writing it down step by step, and is it a transferable skills? Now, if I'm a mechanic, I'll probably, if I'm a doctor, probably I can't teach you how to do surgery.
But you see other things. I don't know doctors teaching stuff, but actually I followed this doctor. I wonder if she has something. But I see. Oh, go ahead.
So I was gonna say, if I'm a chiropractor, I create content online and people pay for that content. Yes, definitely. If I'm a certain type of doctor, I can create content.
do certain things.
So
yeah.
is there a skill or is there a monetizable knowledge that you have that you could sell to other people that helps them achieve a desired result? That's like the ultimate play. Everybody right now, especially we're in a digital age, everyone feels like I want to be able to learn what you know. You post it online, I want to know how you did it. So whether that's like the doula, we bought a course from our doula.
Yeah, she has a course.
Yeah, and it's like I didn't even think about that as like a thing that could be monetizable knowledge.
And I was telling you that. I said, you're like, oh, she has a course. I'm like, that's rare though. Like doulas don't have courses. Usually, any doulas that I research, and most of them don't have courses. But her thought process was, I can't be a doula to everybody. Like,
that's another reason.
I live here in Dallas. I can't, So if I package this information, you have it. Then you have the information. Like you can't speak to me per se, but you have the information that the same thing I would give my clients. Yeah. So yeah, packaging that information helps you to scale more as well. Cause you can't, especially like a service-based business, you can't do for everyone by yourself.
Yeah. So. And then we took our knowledge on what we learned throughout the cleaning business. We've been in business for 5 years. We took our knowledge about how we market, how we scale, how we find people. And we packaged that up into a digital course and we created Cleaning Business University.
Yeah.
And if you guys are interested in that, you will learn how to start and scale a 6 or 7 figure cleaning business without cleaning any houses. Check that out. Link will be in the show notes. But that's what we did. We learned how to monetize our knowledge and we scaled that to a business and made some money from that as well. Yeah. People wanted that information. Yeah. So what are people asking you about on a daily basis that you feel like you could package up and monetize it on the digital platforms?
Enough said there.
Yeah.
So once again, I'm going to wrap. You guys know else?
No, you good.
Oh, okay. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you very much for showing up week after week after week. Like we said, we just celebrated a big milestone. Onward from here. Subscribe, comment, share, write us some feedback. We respond back as well. So thank you for joining us on the Hartzog Hustle podcast.
Before we even wrap, that last part about digital products,
I want to
go back into that.
You had something else.
That might be a whole podcast episode in itself.
What's that? What? Go ahead. Let's see if it's a different episode. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say taking your information. I want to just reiterate this one more time because again,
it's a game. It can be a game changer.
Want to know what you know, whether you believe it or not. How'd you grow your dreadlocks? Like I know nothing about dreadlocks. If I want to grow dreadlocks, I'm going to Google. I'm going to YouTube. Like this is monetizable knowledge. I want you guys to think about something that you could monetize in your daily life. That should be the goal. Creating informational based products. If you just sell that digital product, whatever it is, for $10 a day, you know how much money it is in a whole year. You sell that product for a couple $100 a day, you know how much money that is for the year. So think about something that you could monetize in your daily life and use that to create more income for yourself. You may not be selling it every day. Maybe it's one product a week, but that's extra money that you could putting towards your goals. So that was it.
Okay. So you gonna rap again, or are we gonna just?
So take us out again. Like this podcast, you feel like we are a 5-star podcast. Please rate and review us. That's the only way that we could grow. That's the only way we can continue to teach, and that's the only way that we continue to reach more people. So appreciate you guys being here. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Peace.
This has been an episode of the Hartzog Hustle Podcast. We hope you enjoyed. Be sure to rate and review this podcast on your favorite listening platform. And follow Anthony and Jhanilka on Instagram at The Hartrimony. That's TheHartrimony. Keep hustling, baby. Keep hustling, baby.
Get that money. Get that money.